Climate?
You guys have said no Santa.
Okay, hold on. Is everybody set? All right, Commissioner's going to start with a statement.
Okay. Good evening. I'm joined by Mayor de Blasio, Queens District Attorney Richard Brown, Chief of Department James O'Neill, Chief of Patrol Carlos Gomez, Chief of Detectives Bob Boyce, Commanding Officer of Patrol Boat Queens South, Assistant Chief David Barrera, and Department Chief Surgeon Eli Kleiman. The Mayor will introduce a number of the elected officials that are here when he comes up for his remarks. This evening at approximately 6:15 p.m., one of our police officers was shot while operating an unmarked police car with his partner in the Queens Village section of South Queens. Police Officer Brian Moore and Eric Johnson, both assigned to the 105 Precinct Anti-Crime Team, were in plain clothes and inside an unmarked police vehicle conducting patrol in the vicinity of 212th Street and 104th Avenue. Officer Moore was seated in the driver's seat and Officer Jansen was in the passenger seat when they observed a male black, in his 30s, walking and adjusting an object in his waistband. The officers continued to observe the suspect walking southbound on 212th Street as he turned and continued southbound on 104th Road. Officer Moore positioned the vehicle behind the suspect and inquired about the suspect's actions. The male immediately removed a firearm from his waistband and turned in the direction of the officers and deliberately fired several times into the vehicle, striking Officer Moore in the head. Both officers were still seated in the vehicle. They did not have an opportunity to get out or return fire. Please understand that this is all preliminary. This event only occurred several hours ago, so it is preliminary. The male identified as Demetrius Blackwell, 35 years old, fled through an alleyway onto 104 Road. Realizing that Officer Moore was struck in the head and seriously injured, Officer Jansen immediately radioed for assistance. A responding radio car removed Officer Moore to Jamaica Hospital here, while officers on the scene began searching for the suspect. Officers conducted a canvass of the area and located several witnesses that observed a male fitting the description of Blackwell fleeing the area. Blackwell was successfully taken into custody approximately 90 minutes later inside 10425 212th Place. There is an active crime scene at this location, and we are searching for the weapon. We will be obtaining search warrants. Police Officer Brian Moore, 25 years of age, was appointed to the department on July 2010. He resides in Long Island. Officer Moore is still in surgery. Dr. Kleiman will give a brief update on his condition in a moment. The Mayor and I have met with his parents. His father and uncle are retired sergeants from the NYPD. He also has a cousin who's on the job. He comes from a police family. Police Officer Eric Jansen was not injured. He is 30 years old and was appointed to the department in July 2011. Demetrius Blackwell is 35 years old and has an extensive arrest history, which includes criminal possession of a weapon and robbery. He has also done time. I want to thank the medical staff here at Jamaica Hospital Medical Center for their efforts in attending to Officer Moore, who is still in surgery. And again, Dr. Kleiman will update you on his condition. I want to also commend the men and women of the New York City Police Department who responded to the shooting scene and immediately, one, removed the officer from that scene to the hospital in the first RMP that arrived, in all likelihood potentially saving the officer's life, and then immediately began the canvassing and search of the neighborhood that resulted in less than 1.5 hours later the apprehension of the suspect we believe committed this assault upon our officer. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor de Blasio. Sir?
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, it is a painful day for all of us. It's a painful day for all New Yorkers. It is a painful day for all members of the NYPD. Police Officer Brian Moore, as you've heard, has been very, very seriously wounded. He is a brave young man. As you heard, he comes from a police family. This is what he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to be a New York City police officer. He wanted to serve, and he did so with great distinction. I've already had the opportunity to hear from some of the commanding officers who worked with him and who respected greatly his approach to this work and his devotion to the job. He is here in this hospital, and thank God this is a fine hospital, a level 1 trauma center with the ability to handle this type of situation. I want to thank everyone at Jamaica Hospital for their efforts and all they're doing to help Officer Moore. Our hearts are with his family, his loved ones. Our hearts are with his extended family, the men and women of the NYPD. You know, coming from a police family and seeing the devotion that so many members of his family have had to this city, it's striking to be in the room with his family members and realizing this is a family that have given their all to the city now over 2 generations. It's a reminder of the dangers that all of our officers face every single day, but they are dedicated. They swore an oath and they live up to that oath. Men and women who go out every day and put their lives on the line. This was an unconscionable act of violence, not just against one police officer, but against the city of New York, against the values we hold dear. Thank God, because of the great police work you heard about a moment ago, the perpetrator is in custody. Investigation fully underway. I'm particularly pleased that members of the community aided the investigation immediately and identified the suspect. It's important we all keep Officer Moore in our prayers. We all keep his family in our prayers. We support them. This family has done so much for New York City. Now, New York City must support the Moore family in their time of challenge. I want to also thank everyone who came here tonight, all of the leadership of the NYPD. I want to thank Judge Brown, the Queens DA. I want to thank our public advocate, Tish James, Reuben Wills, the local council member, Vanessa Gibson, the chair of the Public Safety Committee in the City Council, State Senator Leroy Comrie, and PBA President Patrick Lynch. Thank you to all for being here.
Dr. Kleiman, if we could.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening. I'm going to keep my comments very general, and I will not be taking any questions afterwards. The officer who was brought here was taken immediately to the operating room by the team of neurosurgeons and trauma surgeons, Drs. Fretwell and Mu, who have done a phenomenal job of intervening in a life-threatening situation and stabilizing Officer Moore. They are now finishing up surgery and will be going to CAT scan and the ICU thereafter. And at that point, we'll have a better idea of what kind of prognosis we're looking at. It usually takes 24 to 48 hours before an assessment can be made, but we're hopeful that he'll be out of the OR soon and we'll have something to report at a later time. That's all for now.
Can we just get your name and, we'll get it.
We're going to be joined by Chief of Detectives Bob Boyce. I was with Bob at the crime scene. He gave me a walkthrough. We can answer some questions, others that we will not be able to answer. Again, we're in the preliminary stages of the investigation, but once again, I want to acknowledge the great work of the men and women of the NYPD bringing this case to such a quick and successful conclusion. Again, our focus now will certainly be on with the family and with our officer as he goes through this very difficult time. But we can, at this time, open it up for whatever questions you might have.
So where the suspect was found in 212th Place, was it a house that was known to, did he live there? I mean, what was the relationship with him and that location?
He resides on that block. That our understanding is that he's potentially stays in several houses in that area.
Commissioner, any indication on why he just pulled out the gun and started firing at the car? Do you know there were cops following him?
It was quite clear that they were police officers, that and based on, again, our preliminary investigation, there were words exchanged between the officers and the suspect, and he immediately opened fire on them before they even had the opportunity to get out of the vehicle. Again, that's our preliminary understanding.
Commissioner, can you describe the officer's
Dr. Kleiman, the question that did he already step up?
Doctor's gone, no, we'll have to wait until later.
Basically, he was shot in the head, as we indicated, that we won't give any more specificity than that at the moment. Okay.
Talk a bit more about what drew the officer's attention to this man. Did the NYPD have an I-card?
That he is currently the subject of an I-card, which several attempts have been made to serve that I-card on him. And in terms of what drew the attention of the officers to him, the preliminary discussions with the partner officer is that there was an activity he engaged in that attracted their attention to him. And as they sought to stop and question him, that's when he immediately opened fire on them.
That activity is correct.
Again, preliminary information is that there was something about his actions that attracted their attention, and they were responding to that activity. I'm sorry?
Jensen, he's not injured at all? No, he's not injured.
He was not injured, no, that's correct.
Is there any preliminary information about whether the suspect might have expressed anti-police sentiments or in any way been influenced by the recent protests in New York City or what's happening?
No, we're only 2 hours into this investigation. There's no indication of that at all. We've not identified any activity on his part on social media as of this time.
Yes. Were you able to determine how many shots were fired, and based on the shell casings, what type of weapon we were thinking of?
Bob, you want to speak to that, please?
We have one fired round as it stands right now. We have no shell casings, which may indicate that it was a revolver, but I don't have the gun yet, so we do not know. So right now it's speculative. Right now I have witnesses who hear at least 2 rounds, at least 2. At least 2, correct.
Thank you, folks, thank you all, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Richard.